or just set free from your sins.
So, what does that mean? What I'm getting at is, in Hebrew, there's not really a word for saved. There's not really a word for salvation. The idea of salvation is a foreign concept. You're delivered. You're redeemed. You are purchased back. And then you're restored. Redeemed from what? We're redeemed from the curse of sin and death. What does that mean? It means that we have been given the gift of teshuvah, of repentance, that we will transgress, we will sin. We're human beings, that's what we do, and we do it very well. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. First step is, I need to realize that I have transgressed. And then the kingdom of heaven is open to me. Blessed are they who mourn, for they shall be comforted. I realize that I am in a state of spiritual poverty. I have transgressed. And I mourn. What does that mean? I actually understand why I'm crying. It's the same thing that Abraham wept for Sarah. He knew what he was crying about. I understand why. Then I'm ready to make teshuvah. The blood of Yahshua paid for me to be able to do this. He paid the price of redemption. He bought me back from the curse of sin and death, and has opened the door for me to be delivered from those things that I get myself into. When I transgress, I get myself into it. But through teshuvah, understanding that I have transgressed, I can be restored back to the relationship with the Father in the covenant that I otherwise wouldn't have had Yahshua not been the vehicle of sacrifice to restore that covenant for me.
Well, it's just like with my son, it said, you have no idea what this is all about. I mean, go back to the Krishna way, don't judge.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand where he's coming from, and I was not dragged into this. I was from him. And you have to be led from the Holy Spirit.
When Michael and Michael was sick and he was in the hospital for a long time, and he started studying this, and I was raised up in the Baptist church all my life, Baptist church all my life. And when I first met Michael and he started studying and he started doing the Hebrew and all that, I kept thinking,
that's weird.
this is weird. And I thought, and I'll tell you something, I thought he was adding to the Bible. And I got scared and I got freaked out and I thought, oh my gosh, he's adding words to the Bible. He's not supposed to. He just kept on, patient. He just kept on, but he kept teaching it. And I went to the Hebrew letters class 10 times. You'd think after 10 times you didn't need to go to it again. But I went, and the more I prayed, because I was trying to pray to see is he really right? I'm married to him. What am I going to do? Why do I need Hebrew? Why? And I would ask him and everything, and he would explain it to me, and I kept praying, and the more I kept reading and learning the Hebrew, the more this made sense. It made more sense to me this way than when I was going to the Baptist church. Not to knock the Baptist church. I have very dear friends there. I love them, and but this makes better sense.
But I was just telling Brother Michael about, if Constantine would just step out of the way, we would be in perfect peace with the Monarch.
Just like if they
Life.
had not transgressed in the garden, we would have
Really,
Right.
But
it wasn't even that. The,
We had
the,
before Constantine, didn't
if we were going to point fingers in things like this, we'd have to place the blame on the Pharisees, the Jews themselves. And that's a harsh thing to say, you know. I'm a Jewish guy, but I'm going to say, you know, physically a Jewish guy. Why am I blaming the Jews for things being the way they are? Because this Bezorah, this message, was to go to the Jew first, then to the Gentile, and there was a reason for that. Yeshua says, you worship what you don't understand. Deliverance is from the Yehudim. It was the Jews that had the responsibility of understanding what Yahshua was talking about and taking it to the world. And we go back to Shemot 19, Exodus 19. It says, if you will listen to what I say, you'll be a kingdom of Kohanim. You'll be set apart to me, but you will be a kingdom of Kohanim, which means more than just priests. You'll be a kingdom of teachers, and your responsibility is to teach the world. But they didn't do that. And you have Gentiles that bring in ideas from all of their different idolatry things, and they began to build on that until you have what we have today is a mess. And it's a mess both on the Christian side and on the Jewish side.
But knowing that I'm involved and wanting to know more, and if I don't, that's a sin.
Oh yeah.
And that's
it?
true.
The
And
more you stay, the better.
So, you know, do I listen to Elohim or my husband?
Oh, that's
That's a
easy.
difficult one.
It's an easy one to answer. There's going to be trouble in your life, all right?
But if I have him,
Then you won't have
then
trouble.
I'll be okay.
You'll
be
Because
right.
I will use the wisdom according to
And
the
the
Torah.
more you do, your husband will. The more
Well,
you
the
do.
she,
It says that you will win them over without speaking a word. So all you have to do is follow him and win them over without
Sandra,
speaking a word.
Sandra's sister is in a lot the same boat.
Mm-hmm.
She decided on Christmas. Well, you tell the story better than I do.
Well, she's been wanting to learn more about the Jewish ways too, and whenever we get together, we just have a party and always talk about it. But this past Christmas, she is a huge decorator. I mean, oh my goodness. Well, this past Christmas, she told her husband, said, "You don't need to worry about getting Christmas trees out because we're busy. We just don't have time." "Oh no, we gotta get it." She goes, "No, just don't worry about it. I just really don't feel like decorating this year." And I just almost fell on the floor when she told me that. But she didn't decorate. They still had their, morning breakfast, and they still did gifts and everything. But she's trying to slowly get away from all this. But on her breakfast table, she decorated with 9 candles. She did the menorah, but she didn't say a word. She just decorated her table with 9 pillar candles and put some greenery around it. It was gorgeous. And when she showed me that, I just went crazy because it's like she's just winning them over without saying a word. I mean,
But-
she's talked to her husband, but her husband's like, "Oh, we don't even know, oh, we don't even know that." But she's just dying for it.
But she
for
got that.
family.
But she came, she was coming to know that because of you, right? I mean,
Yeah, but basically, I started going to
but at first she
DFW
probably
beginning-
didn't want to.
Well, when I first started just going to DFW beginnings, I started telling her, "Oh, this is just going crazy about all the Jewish stuff I was learning, And she goes, "I've been wanting to learn that
Oh,
for
so
so
she-
long." I said, "I never knew that. I never knew you were interested in the
Wow.
Jewish ways."
Wow.
And so she would watch him on TV, and she would learn a lot. And we'd always get together and talk. So,
But you know what,
but
Sandra?
that kind of started the DFW New Beginnings.
Yes. The Jewish way might be the wrong words to say.
Well, but
Because-
back then we didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah.
We just
right.
knew.
You're right.
Yeah.
That's what we called it, the Jewish
way.
ways.
That's maybe what's, because that's what's
I
going
just knew
natural.
that's what
Yeah.
you know.
Because
So
But I
what-
mean, it's all this, I know,
Hebrew,
it's
Yeah.
just,
Jewish.
What
Ah.
word did we use to
Right.
allow them to understand this is not an occult?
mm-mm.
No,
There's gotta be, I mean, I'm Pentecostal, you know?
You know, you're,
there's always my mother name.
So I'm a Pentecostal Hebrew.
you know, well, literally-
Wow, that's a good, well, I'm Baptist.
I would
Well,
bring
what
her,
is-
she didn't decorate her bunnies either for Easter, I'm sorry.
Oh, but it's okay.
She just said, I'm just gonna decorate with little lambs this year. I mean, they still did it for Easter because they're Second Baptist. He's a minister there. So she's kind of like, you know, I'm gonna do all this, but I'm not gonna give out the bunny. Oh, but your grandfather gave me this beautiful bunny all these days. She goes, I don't want to get him out this year. I'm just gonna do little lambs. So she's just slowly just taking it
That's
all
awesome.
away.
The
Lucky.
Torah is
Having a
really,
husband
it's,
here.
am
She's
I
just
right?
slowly
The Torah
just
is
turning.
is
Even though she's
for
still
so
Pentateuch.
happy.
It's
That's
the
one
five
battle we
books
didn't
of the
have.
Old
Yeah.
Testament.
Yeah, that's good.
So, in my way, when I went to college, it was called Pentateuch, and we studied that. We
Yeah.
studied Hebrew,
Yeah,
So-
but
but they
Sure.
just you know taught the top of it. You're not even
Or
in
they
depth
They
teach
of
just
it.
kind of
you
Or did they
can't,
teach it
Right.
from
skim the
Greek?
surface.
you can't,
You greet me out here.
I'm gonna show you something. They've seen it a few times. I'm gonna show you something on the board that they don't teach you. And it'll show you why it's so important. Not just to study, you know, Hebrew, to know different words and definitions, but the very thought process of what it is. And as I said, they've seen this a number of times, and I apologize everybody, but this is the point. This is the point. This is the point of the Torah. Okay? And it's Rashid bara Elohim, and I'm going to do the rest of it down here. So, Et Shemayim Ba'et Ha'eretz. You recognize this as simply being in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Rashid bara Elohim et hashemayim va'et ha'aretz. You'd say, well, that's what it's got to mean because they translated it into English this way. Why do we study the way we study? What did the rabbis, well, they didn't really miss it. I think they understood it. But somehow or another they missed Yahshua from not. Bereshit, in the beginning, it's kind of a misrepresentation of this word. Because the word resh, although it can mean beginning, literally means authority. So this actually says in the authority of. In the authority of. But this first letter beit is enlarged. It shouldn't be enlarged. It should be the same size as all the other letters. It's a rule in writing a Torah scroll. If it's bigger than the other Torah, you throw it away. But it alludes to the idea of being covered by another letter called a pei. It means voice. Means word. So now you have the idea of the voice over the house. Does what? This word right here is the word resh. It means authority. So the word over the house has authority. This letter, the yod, I think we talked about it last week, it's the smallest letter. The pen touches the paper, a yod is formed, makes a letter, there's a vav, leaves the paper, it finishes, so it's the first and the last mark. The first and the last mark of the letter that comprises the middle, which gives us an idea of the word emet, that means truth. In order to have the truth, you have to have the beginning, the middle, and the end. Without the yod, nothing can be formed. Yod is the root of the name of Yahuwah. It represents the truth, power, and the ability of Yahuwah. So we have the word over the house has the authority by the truth, power, and the ability of Yahuwah. This is the Tav, it's the farthest point from the Aleph, but it means vehicle of sacrifice and covenant marker. So in the first word, we find that the word over the house has the authority by the truth, power, and the ability of Yahweh to become the vehicle of sacrifice, to restore a covenant, to do a covenant, to make a covenant. So who is this? Bara means created. So if we've read in John 1:1 says what? In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with Elohim. The Word was Elohim. Verse 2, everything that was created through the Word. Without the Word, nothing was created. Here's a word, created, that contains, is the house. There's Beit. Beit means house. Beit, the house of the authority of Elohim. The Aleph represents Elohim. The first time that we see Elohim as a root of a word is right here in the third word of Torah, which is Elohim. We said that all the letters except for the yod are comprised of other letters, so it's comprised of 2 yods and above. 10 plus 10 plus 6 is 26, which is the same numerical value as Yod He Vav He, the name of Elohim. So, the house of the authority of Yahweh. We go to John 1:14. It says, and the Word became flesh. And in our Aramaic version, it says, and built his tabernacle among us. Okay? The Word became flesh and built his tabernacle among us.
And what is that tabernacle?
Hang on just a second. Let's go back to the word. Let's go back to John 1:1. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. What does, and the Word was Elohim mean? Christians have taken it to say, well, Jesus is God, because Jesus was the Word. Elohim means judge, means authority, redemption, rest. The Word was the judge with the authority to bring redemption and rest. The Torah is the judge that can bring redemption and rest. Okay? We have to understand that the Word became flesh. The milta is an Aramaic word that means the manifestation of the Word. The Word manifested itself as the flesh and built its tabernacle among us. Now, you said, what was the tabernacle? Well, if we say that that tabernacle was the authority of Yahweh, we take this and cut it in half. We have the word bar, which means son. We're left with Elohim. So what does John 1:14 say based on this? As the only begotten of the Father. But then it goes on to say something else. Full of grace and truth. The only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. Take it, one big sentence. Is anybody in the room here full of grace and truth? Is anybody in the room perfect? Saying that the Word became flesh, built his tabernacle among us as the only perfect being that could possibly become this vehicle of sacrifice to restore a covenant. Nobody else could have done it. That he was the son of Elohim it's no big deal. It's terrible. How can you say that?
He was the Son of God.